If there's anything 2025 taught me, is that movies don't just entertain us. They follow us home. They stay with us for days. Some disappoint us, obviously. Some completely shift the way we see storytelling. Today, I'm looking back at the movies that defined my 2025, the ones that missed the mark, and of course, my absolute favorites. I also want to touch on how much I watched, how much I obviously read, and dive into what I'm looking forward to in 2026. Hi, welcome to the very first episode of Reddit Watch It. If you're new here, don't worry, I'm also new here. This is the first episode. I'm Dolly, and this is Reddit Watch It. Thank you for coming to this space. Thank you for finding this channel. This is a channel where I review books and movies and everything in between. I don't just do surface level reviews or hot takes. I want to be able to use this space to delve deeper than just the quick summaries that we have right now. I want to be able to go beyond the meaning of some of these characters, some of these stories. It's about the feeling, it's about the themes, about the characters, it's about the choices made by authors or directors or producers or actors themselves. I want to be able to delve deeper than just summarizing what a movie was about or what a book was about. I want to be able to talk about the feelings that we have after watching a movie or reading a book. For this first episode, I thought and I felt like it will be better, or will be a good way to look back at 2025, just as a sense of just grounding us in where we just were in 2025, just round up what happened in 2025. What did we do in 2025? What was the year of film and books in 2025? So I want to sort of explore how much I read, how many movies I watched, just pretty much be honest about what I consumed in 2025. I will also talk about my top 5 movies of 2025, my not so favorite movies of 2025, and of course, the books that I read in 2025. But generally, I feel like 2025 was a very interesting year in film. Just to start off, I remember 2025 and the sort of movies that came out, and it was very interesting seeing, especially now during award season, seeing what everyone is up in arms about. Of course, we know the movies that are popular with the Academy right now and the awards, all the movies that are up for nomination. And of course, just seeing the difference and the dichotomy of like what the Academy is favoring versus what viewers or critics were liking. It really showed me that viewers are very more interested in being a part of the process. Viewers really want to be a part of this thing because movies don't just entertain us. Like I think they do more than we give it credit for. But yeah, it also plays a part in what I want to do for 2026. Just seeing and looking back at the movies from 2025. Some of the movies that I saw also reminded me that movies aren't just entertainment. Movies are also work of art. Movies are extremely emotional. They're just a medium, and depending on the viewer, it can do one thing to you but do another to the other person. So I mean, what else does that evoking different emotions from people but art, right? You see one movie and we all have different opinions about it. Also books, right? I'll read the same book with my friends and we will have completely different opinions and perspectives on characters or the themes, which is what I like about movies and books, just being able to discuss with people and just figure out, okay, what did you get out of this? Were we on the same page? Am I thinking the same thing? That's part of why, of course, I did this podcast, because I want to be able to hear what other people have to say. What do they think about this? What did this make them feel? Because I always feel like I'm alone in my thoughts and my feelings about certain things, and I'm very curious to see, Does someone feel the same way? Did this make them feel the same way? So I'm really, really interested to see what the community feels about some of the movies from 2025. So now let us recap what happened in 2025. So the year of film in 2025, I saw something from IMDb that said about 19,400 movies were released in 2025. Of course, this is international, so this takes into consideration other countries aside North America, of course. So this is, I don't think this accounts for like home movies and some of those other stuff, but about 19,000 new releases in 2025. And I found that really interesting. 19,000 is a huge figure. And I had to think back, what did I watch in 2025? So I went back, sat down, and did a tally of all the 2025 releases that I watched. And it turns out I watched about 45 of them, 45 or 46, I think. I watched 45 of those 19,000 movies. Not a huge number when you think about it in the grand scheme of 19,000, but again, it was 45 of the 2025 releases. I did, of course, watch other movies, some rewatches, some old movies, but I watched 45 new movies last year. Whew. And it was interesting going back to think, oh, what did I watch? Or what didn't I watch? I remember something, and I remember not watching some deliberately. I didn't watch certain movies because I heard enough, I have seen enough, and I didn't want to have to watch it. So there were some deliberate ones that I was like, nah, I'm not watching this. It will be a waste of my time. But let's start off with what I watched and what I liked and what I watched. So let's start with my top fives. Okay, this is really great. My top fives. This is my opinion. This is my top five, just what personally hit home to me, and it's for all different reasons. This isn't popular opinion. This isn't everyone's top five. This isn't even, close to anything remotely what other people think. Again, my personal opinion, my personal favorites. All right, let me start with Sinners. Sinners is definitely in my top five. It was such a great movie. It was a fantastic movie. I remember before it got released, I was seeing ads for it. I was seeing the marketing, and I'm like, oh, what is this? I see vampires, but I don't know. I had no idea what the movie was going to be. Like, I had no clue. I just saw vampires and I saw Michael B. Jordan, and that was it for me. I'm like, okay, Michael B. Jordan is going to be playing a vampire. Absolutely, count me in. And of course, it's by Ryan Coogler. He does amazing, amazing work. There's no way I'm not going to go see such a thing. I feel like there was just the trifecta of Ryan Coogler and Michael B. Jordan. That's the trifecta, okay? Then you have to watch it. And I thought to myself, when was the last time I saw anything with vampires in it? And that was probably what, Vampire Diaries, and I didn't even finish that one. So I go to the movies. My friend actually was the one that called me. I was already going to see it, but immediately he saw it's like, Dolly, have you seen it? I'm like, not yet. I'm waiting. He's like, no, you better go see it. I was like, okay, good indication that it will be a good movie. If your friends are calling you to be like, have you seen this? You should see it. So I went to see it, and of course, it was an experience. It was an experience. I I personally literally had an experience whilst watching it, and this is like a totally separate story. I'll probably do that in another episode. And this is one of the reasons why I feel like stories and movies stay with you. It's not just about like what you've just seen. Depending on where you see it, how you see it, or whatever, it if you had an experience, that movie or that book will stay with you even longer than it should. So, for instance, you go to the theaters, if you were sat by a pleasant person, that thought, that feeling would always come back to you, and it will be part of the memories you have regarding that movie. If you saw a movie on a plane because you were headed to vacation, you would remember that movie because you remember, oh, I was on vacation and this happened. So, yeah, it just depends on your circumstances and how you see a movie. That's one of the things I'm alluding to when I say movies stay with us, because aside Sinners being a great movie, it also stayed with me, and it's going to stay with me because of the experience I had in the theaters. I was pretty much yeah, I experienced racism in the theater. So again, story for another day. I will table that, and I just want to focus on how great Sinners was for me. It was very interesting. Thing is, I don't like scary movies at all. I don't. I would say it out now. I don't like scary movies. I don't like things jumping up at me. I want everyone to have a great experience in the theater. So I don't want to be screaming or like making noises because I want everyone to enjoy their time, which is why I don't watch scary movies. If at all, I wouldn't even do it in the theater. 5 minutes in into Sinners, something jumps at me in the screen. I'm like, absolutely not. I'm leaving. I can't watch this. I was so scared. I was like, oh, nope, nope, nope. This is going to be scary. It's scary vampires. I need to leave. But then I was convinced to stay, that it would get better. So I stayed. And I'm glad I stayed. I'm actually glad I stayed because it did get better. It wasn't as scary as I thought. But I mean, I saw something jump at me and that scared the hell out of me. So I was like, no. Anyways, it was so good. The cast was amazing. That's another thing I love, like, about movies. When you see a cast or actor portraying something exactly how you can ever imagine, then they have done a great job. You don't want to watch something and you think to yourself, this person might have done a better job. That's what I love the most about Sinners. I felt like every single person did exactly what they needed to do. Every single person hit their mark. Every depiction that was given was accurate to the T. I couldn't fault it at any point. It was so good. And again, this is my opinion. There's probably things I didn't catch, or maybe I'm giving this a lot more grace. But yeah, and of course, it was a movie about racism. What else? What else do you need? What I love the most, aside the theme being racism, is that, again, Ryan Coogler is amazing. Him having the idea to depict such a sensitive theme as racism in a what I would consider cool way. Have we ever seen black people being like a whole movie about black people being vampires? I don't think so. I've never. And please let me know if there's something out there. I've never seen that. Typically, vampires are associated with white people. So seeing it in a black person and just the black culture coming out in that way was very, very exciting for me. It was so new, it was so fresh, and it just really shows that if you want to tell your story, using a different medium might be the best way to get your story out there. If you didn't get that the story was about racism, I'm sorry, maybe go watch it again. But it was blatant and clear as day that it was about racism. And it was just so cleverly done that I can't say, like, I can't fault it at all. As cool as it was, the whole vampire scene, everything, it was just thoughtful. All the little pieces, the nuances, and how we came together and painting that picture of racism was so beautiful. And I wish we could do more of that because it's not all the time we want to see racism played out in slaves being beaten for 12 years. As powerful as those are and true, they are true, it's just, another, I feel like a lot of these stories are repeats. Themes are just recurring, right? We're not going to invent any new thing at this point, except it's fantasy. But when we're dealing in drama and all, we would not necessarily invent new themes. They all are the same. It's about love, romance, grief. It's one thing or the other. It's just how do you now tell this? And I feel like Ryan Coogler did that amazingly by telling this story in a cooler way. So fitting for right now, and I absolutely loved it. I don't know. I don't want to keep talking because there's others to talk about, but that is one of my top fives. Will be Sinners. The next one for me would be F1. F1, what can I say? It was just so cool. It was so exhilarating. I absolutely enjoyed it. I thoroughly enjoyed it. Okay, full disclosure, I follow F1 on a normal day. I absolutely love the sport. I know the drivers, I know the constructors, I know all the teams. So it was exciting for me as someone that follows F1 to see the F1 movie. And I was so impressed by the technology they were able to use to capture that driver feeling, that being in the driver's seat where everything's moving at 1,000 miles an hour. I was so impressed by, because as a viewer, if you're able to feel like, oh shoot, this is going really fast, then I think job well done, because I could feel that. I could absolutely see how fast that car was moving. And if you follow F1, you know those things go super fast. It was so fun to see Damson Idris, and of course, always a good time seeing Brad Pitt. He just gets hotter by the year. He's aging greatly. I mean, whatever he's doing is working. Brad Pitt just looks great. Seeing both of them, I remember thinking to myself, it reminded me of maybe the Alfa Romeo team or the Williams team. And it was, it was a classic underdog story. It was so cute. Absolutely loved it. I wasn't disappointed. I would say that I wasn't disappointed one bit, especially coming from being a fan of F1 itself, the sport. Watching it, there was that hesitation of this might be disappointing. They might not be able to capture this the way it needs to be captured, but they absolutely did a great job. And if you don't follow F1, I feel like the movie would make you interested. That's how I saw it. If you don't follow F1, you kind of want to go back and be like, oh wait, what's this sport about? So I think the movie did a great thing in just sparking interest. And again, this is my take. This is how I feel. It might be biased because I'm already into F1, but it was a great movie. It was fun. They had cute actors. What more do you want from a movie, right? And it told a good story about trusting yourself, believing in yourself, just that typical underdog story. What more do you want? And just, fun cars and stuff. My other pick would be, okay, because I only have five to pick from. I would choose How to Train Your Dragon, the live action. Okay, that was really interesting for me. If you know me, you know I love How to Train Your Dragon. It's one of my top favorite movies ever. The animation. I love this movie. I've watched it probably a million times. I absolutely love it. I love the whole thing. I love the Toothless. I love the dragons. I love everything about it. So for this one, I was actually cautiously optimistic, and I didn't want it to suck, because this is one of my favorite movies, right? And they're doing it to a live action. I was thinking to myself, oh gosh, what if this turns out to be horrible? What if they just butcher the characters? What if everything just looks off? That was what I was thinking. I remember my friend sent it to me before it was released, and he sent me the ad. It's like, Dolly, How to Train a Dragon, lock in, like it's coming out soon. I'm like, oh my gosh. I was actually a little scared, because I've had live action of, like, in the recent times, we've had a lot of live actions kind of disappoint and not really do the job. Snow White. But I was thinking to myself, how badly can you screw up this story? Good thing they didn't screw up. They didn't screw up. It was so good. It was really, so my hesitation with live action is not because I don't believe in this directors or their interpretation. It's because I already have a sentimental attachment to the original story. I think that's the part that, like, everyone's looking forward to connecting to what they connected with in the original story. And then when you come back to do it again in a live action, expectations are already set, because the original, especially if it's like a successful original, has set a bar. You need to hit that bar or surpass it. And in recent times, a lot of live actions haven't surpassed that bar, barely hitting it actually. So that was the hesitation I was having towards How to Train a Dragon. Remember, it's one of my top favorite movies ever. I've watched it a million times. And then I go to see it, and it's everything I ever imagined. I was like, oh my gosh, they got everything correct. Toothless looks great. Hiccup looks fantastic. Astrid is exactly what Astrid should be in terms of just the strength and power. Like, I felt like all the characters were great. I didn't miss the original, because I felt like it was captured exactly how it needed to be. A lot of these new live actions, at kind of retelling the story, but this was great. It was fantastic. I mean, it could have been cute seeing the original cast, maybe Jay Baruchel, but we know Jay Baruchel cannot play Hiccup at this age. He absolutely cannot. But I loved how true to the original it was, because I've seen a lot of misdirection with trying to change something from the original, trying to retell the story in a way that it's not the same. And I don't think all live actions need that. You don't need to necessarily retell the story, just redo it, but we're seeing it with real people. And that was what this was. I didn't miss the original. It was exact, even the dialogue was exactly what it needed to be. I was like, oh my gosh, so I could say the exact lines of certain scenes. I'm like, oh, yes, they absolutely got it right. So this is my personal opinion. I think this, for me, is the best live action I've seen in a long time. It really did the entire franchise justice. And I wonder if they will do the sequels, and how they will be able to capture that going forward, if they would employ the same techniques and just keep true to the original, because that's what worked for me in this live action, the fact that it was so true to the original. Yes, I know there was some controversy about the casting of Astrid. I know some people were like, yeah, Astrid needs to be a purebred Viking, da 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 da. Nah, she doesn't need to be. We just needed an actor that would just portray a strong Viking-like character. That was it. If she's mixed, it doesn't matter. We were not there when the Vikings were there, so it doesn't really matter. I thought all the actors did everything just the way it needed to be done. So yeah, I liked it. Sue me. Okay, next one. Whew, I have just two left. Ooh. Okay. Next for me would be Avatar Fire and Ash. Yes, Fire and Ash was a good one for me. Again, maybe not for everyone. Probably most people haven't even seen it because of the failure. Well, maybe it wasn't a failure, but to me, Way of Water wasn't really great. It wasn't good. I didn't really like Way of Water, but Fire and Ash, yes, that did something. That did something for me. So Avatar background. Original came out in 2009. If I remember correctly, it was the first IMAX movie ever, I think. And of course, we all know it was the first of its kind. James Cameron employed techniques that hadn't been used before in cinema his, with his whole engineering and technology. And that was what was exciting for all of us, of course. We found it so fast. I remember being in theater with my family and we were so fascinated. My sister and I came out like, oh my gosh, blue large aliens. It was just so cool. It was so cool back in 2009. And of course, he won, I think he won awards. And then it was the highest grossing movie for a very long time. Rightfully so. Rightfully so. We waited for the sequel for years. Of course, now we understand why he needed the technology to catch up to what he really wanted to capture, which is great, which is underwater filming, because he didn't want to fake the water scenes. And I respect that, be true to yourself, be true to your art, do what you need to do to satisfy your vision. And that's what James Cameron is about. He would rather wait than fake it, which is great. So Way of Water, of course, we've all been waiting for years for the sequel, and it came out, and I was a bit disappointed. I didn't see the story. Yeah, it was the whole CGI, it was all the graphics. Yeah, we've seen that already, and in this day and age, none of that is necessarily impressive anymore. In 2009, it was impressive, but now it's like, yeah, we've seen this, right? At this point, I was looking for more of a story, and that is what Fire and Ash delivered. Fire and Ash delivered the story. I was like, okay, now you're sparking something in me. Now you're bringing it back to what this should really be about, which is storytelling. I'm not just here to see some sort of great whale in your imagination. I don't know, but the story came back now. Now we're dealing with actual storytelling in Fire and Ash, which I absolutely appreciated. And that's what makes this part of my tops, because it was 3 hours long and I was in it the entire time. I didn't know where it was going to end. I wasn't even sure how it was going to end, but I absolutely enjoyed the new character, the new arc that we're facing now, and like what's coming. There's someone else that we're battling, right? It was so great to see sort of like a dichotomy of the indigenous people. It's like on the one hand, we've seen the indigenous people treasure Awa, really relish her, and really, think holding her in high regard. She's the all consuming mother. And there's this other sect of the indigenous people that do not care for Awa at all. They think she's of the devil. They think she's abandoned them. They think nothing of her. So it's interesting to see that, oh, okay, there are other people on this planet that feel a different way about this deity, and I want to hear their story. Again, what did it for me with Fire and Ash is the introduction of a new character that has brought something else to the table. And now we're going to explore, we're going deeper into the indigenous people and their stories, and seeing that, yes, they are also a society where there's a left and there's a right. Okay? Not everyone believes in the same thing. Not everyone feels the same way about one thing. So that was it for me. That was the best part, just being able to go back to storytelling and not using all the graphics, all the technology to bamboozle us. Now there's a story to actually focus on. That's my take on Fire and Ash. If you haven't watched it, I would say you can absolutely skip Wheel of Water. You wouldn't necessarily miss anything. You can go straight to Fire and Ash, and you'll be caught up for sure. You will know exactly what's going on. You will be caught up immediately. Watch Fire and Ash if you haven't. If you're interested in the whole Avatar um, universe, you should absolutely watch it. Okay. My top. The last one for my top five will be it will be K-pop Demon Hunters. Yes, I know. I said it. What can I say? It was just a fun movie. It was just fun. Look, for nothing else, it really was just a fun movie. I liked it because now that's a movie that stays with you, right? It stays with you. It was just so fun. Like, I can't remember the last time a musical was just that fun for me. I just loved how fun it was. And more than anything, I think I also liked the backstory. Well, backstory being the whole rigmarole with Sony and Netflix, Sony selling it off and not believing in the project, and Netflix picking it up, and they've more than doubled their investment in the project. For me, it's like, I wonder what the executives of Sony are thinking now, right? It's just funny to see that even in this day and age where K-pop is a huge thing, someone would still not believe in an animated movie about K-pop. It's like, come on, we all watch anime now. It's such an international market that anything with in this sort of genre, with this sort of theme, would absolutely kill it. And of course, the music, fantastic. You know what? For me, the whole story behind K-pop Demon Hunters is just a metaphor for real life. It really is a metaphor, and that's what K-pop Demon Hunters, more than anything, taught me. I mean, aside the music, is that you don't need everyone to believe in you. You absolutely don't need everyone to believe in you. You just need one person. You need the right person to believe in you, and you'll be good. Because at the end of the day, like, Sony being one of the biggest companies out there, like Sony, Spider-Man Sony, like actual Sony, that has done a lot in the entertainment industry, could not, they were ready and they sold their rights. They sold this off to Netflix, and Netflix picked it up, and here we are. If Sony released this, we don't know how good or bad it might have done. We absolutely have no idea how it would have done. But guess what? They would never be able to find out. So this is something I'm even saying to myself. You just need one person. You don't need everyone. You don't even need the biggest person. You don't need the most popular person to like you. You don't need the biggest company to hire you. You just need the right person or the right place, and you'll be fine. But yeah, back to the actual story. It was just really fun. I mean, the music was everything. But even about the music, it really for me was also about representation, watching stuff that is more international, that isn't necessarily our everyday North American storyline. This was just, it was right for the era. It was so cool and so proud of the singer songwriters. EJ, they have done so well. First Korean American female to be nominated for all of these awards. And like, I'm so proud, so proud. It's, again, part of representation, seeing what we need to see. That's why K-pop Demon Hunters is my top. But again, this is just my list. I'm sure everyone has something else, but I'm really curious to see what you liked in 2025. What are your top picks? What are your favorite movies from 2025? Please tell me in the comments. I really want to see if any of my tops are in your tops, or, vice versa, if your tops were also some of the ones that I considered. But yeah, this is again top five. There's a lot of other movies, there's honorable mentions like One Battle After Another. That was really great. Absolutely love Tiana Taylor's performance. She's killing it right now. There's so many others, but I can only pick five. I can only pick five, guys. But yeah, okay. So that's it with my top fives. And now we do my not so favorites. Oh, this is gonna be painful. Right, not so favorites. And not I'm doing this list just out of my personal preference. It's not because these movies weren't good or were commercially successful. Pretty sure some of them were, but this is just me and just my preference and what I like, or what I was expecting with some of them. And yeah, let me start with the first one. What didn't I like? I'm gonna start with Jurassic Park. Was it Jurassic Park or was it Jurassic World? I think it was World. Yeah, there you go. So this is part of why I didn't like it. I'm not even sure where are we with this whole Jurassic universe? Are we still in the parks? Are we still in the world? I feel fatigue from the whole Jurassic thing. Jurassic World has been since before me. It's before my time. And that's okay. A lot of franchises, they are successful over decades, over centuries at this point. But I think I'm having fatigue from the whole Jurassic World thing. I thought we were done in the park, right? And here we are again, trying to start this off. I'm picking it up again, and it just didn't do it for me. It was just, ugh. The fatigue has a lot to do with it. I feel like when we come to restarting franchises, we need to give the viewers a break. There needs to be a breather. You need to sort of take a step back and like not bombard us. Do not force this down our throats. Give us some time. Give us some time. See, with like King Kong and Godzilla and stuff, we typically get time between they try to restart it, redo it before we get the sequels and things. But with Jurassic World, I feel like there's been one every year or every other year. And that fatigue played into why I didn't really appreciate this one. Also because, yeah, I mean, you already kind of knew what it was about. You knew what was going to happen. Right, we're going for a number of specimens. And of course, it's only going to get more dangerous after each specimen. Story done. I mean, what else? What else are we on about? We already knew what was going to be like. So yeah, it wasn't necessarily the best for me. I remember watching it and I was like, oh, why did I even do this? I didn't have to be here. That's one. Yeah, that one was a bit disappointing for me. But now that I think about it, what else did I expect? I don't even know. But yeah, it was disappointing. Another one that was quite disappointing for me was Den of Thieves. I don't know. I It's been a while from the first to now the second one, and maybe because I have high expectations of heist movies, or maybe not high expectations. I just love heist movies. I mean, it's one of the easier like ones to make. It's just how do you outsmart the how do you outsmart the cops, law enforcement? I really just like heist movies, and I kind of thought it would be more along the lines of the first one, where it was kind of high octane. It was really, really interesting. We had, of course, an ensemble cast. I was looking forward to that. And yeah, I was let down when it wasn't that. It was more slow paced and it didn't really work for me with like the picture and just how it was told. It was a little boring. It was a little boring because it was long as well, but it was a little boring. Before we got to the good parts, we had to, it took me 3 tries to finish this movie. Yeah. And typically I'm like with a heist movie, you should be locked in from the start. You should be locked in. But it was disappointing because I expected it to be kind of on par with the adrenaline rush on the first one, you know. It was quite fast paced, but this wasn't that. It doesn't mean it wasn't good, doesn't mean you can't watch it again. I probably can watch it again, but it just was a bit disappointing for me. And it didn't do it for me with how how slow paced it was. I was expecting something along the lines of the first one with how typical heist movies are. You know, I like the chase, but yeah, it's just again personal preference, and that's why it didn't work for me. Another one I didn't like was Now You See Me, Now You Don't. I really wanted to like this one. I really did because I love the originals. I love one and two. Jesse Eisenberg and the cast, they were so good. Because I love illusion movies. I love heist movies. Illusion and heist together, absolutely fantastic. I really wanted to like this. But then it disappointed me because I feel bad even saying this. It was subpar to the first two. That's really how it felt to me. It just was not on the same level in terms of story. I don't know how they did this. First, okay, what got me, and I think the major reason this didn't connect for me was I don't like when I'm able to tell the entire story minutes into the story. I could tell immediately the moment Rosamund Pike spoke, I knew exactly what this was going to. And I think that's one of the problems with having an ensemble cast, where you've seen someone before, you know, well, if you're in this, then you have a major part to play. So seeing Justice and the new crew, like this supposed to be youngins, immediately I'm like, yeah, Justice is in here. He's definitely controlling things. Immediately I just kind of knew where this was headed. And I didn't like that. So it took away, so the illusion was gone for me immediately. You kind of want to wait to see the illusion, but I saw it way before it was revealed. And that's why it didn't connect for me. You know, I just didn't like the part where you could tell. I mean, I know it wasn't just me that could tell immediately that Justice was behind the whole thing from the get-go. I wasn't surprised by any means at all. I knew he was the one sending for the four horsemen. It was so obvious. It was so obvious. Like from him just really trying to push and push. It was just obvious. Like, okay, were they like was that the point? Was it meant to be obvious that he was behind this? I don't think so. That's why it really didn't connect with me. That's really what disappointed me. The fact that I could tell from early on what the whole story was going to be about. But I am excited that the franchise is restarting because I think from the way it's ended, we're expected to see other things from them. And that I'm looking forward to. Sometimes in when you're trying to revive a franchise, you might have to do a throwaway movie just to get to the good parts. It happens, and it's okay. You know, this was fine. You could possibly watch it again, but I probably wouldn't. It just was disappointing to see because I so much love illusion movies to see that I could figure it out quickly. Yeah, that's why I didn't really care for Now You See Me, Now You Don't. The other one that didn't really do it for me was Fantastic Four. Yeah, Fantastic Four was another one I really wanted to like. I really wanted to enjoy this. I really wanted this to be a rebirth, really. I wanted, because I remember Fantastic Four from Jessica Alba's version, and I was like, okay, there's no way you could do worse. But yeah, they absolutely did worse. In my opinion, I was watching this in the theaters, and all I could think whilst I was there was, wasn't Silver Surfer better than this? That's all I could think. I was just thinking to myself, yeah, I need to go watch that again. And that's exactly what I did when I went home. I went home and I watched Jessica Alba's version all over again. And in that moment, I felt to myself, this is decades old and it's still better than this new story. I get we were going for a retro vibe. Don't get me wrong, I love a retro vibe. Absolutely love a retro vibe. But it was more of the execution of the story that didn't work for me. I feel like if we're trying to restart a franchise or trying to do something, because Fantastic Four isn't necessarily the best story out of the Marvel universe, and yeah, it hasn't necessarily done the best. And we're trying to reconstitute this and present this to the audience to be more exciting, more engaging. I don't think we've started on the right foot with this one. It was, yeah, it had the openings like Pedro Pascal is fantastic. I love him. I was like, okay, Pedro, let's go, do your thing. But the execution just fell short for me. What took it away from me was the fact that I could go back home, watch the old version, and still like that better than I like this. And that's all I can say. It just didn't do it for me. A lot of superhero movies these days are just not, they're not on the same level. They're not meeting the expectations. And that was what this was. It just didn't meet my expectations. I expected it to be better than the one from decades ago, but it just was not. So yeah. Okay. The last one that didn't do it for me, that disappointed me and confused me, was Mission Impossible Final Reckoning. Am I, whatever this is, 12, 10? I'm not even sure. I think that's part of it. What am I, are we on? What am I, is this? Like, it was so long. I promise you, I do not remember anything from, I don't even know how we ended. I don't know. And I watched it. I just don't remember. There was so much going on. I know we're trying to wrap it up or trying to finish it, but it just was so unclear. Maybe I have to go back to rewatch it because I definitely missed something. I don't remember anything. I don't remember. At this point, I remember up to Ghost Protocol and that's it. Final Reckoning was supposed to be the wrapping. I hope I hope that's the end. I hope this is the end of the MI franchise. Someone please tell me, are we expected to see another one? Because it better be the end. This just didn't do it for me. It just wasn't. I just was confused the whole time. Like, what are we doing? Like, what's going on? Someone tell me where we're at. So I'm not the type of person that goes to movies and is ever confused. This one confused me. I just couldn't get it. For how many hours I was in there, and I was lost half the time, and I don't even remember it. That's, for me, that's really the problem. The fact that I don't remember, and I typically remember, even if it's just one thing, I typically have a takeaway from every movie, but this I just don't remember. Yeah, and that really is why Mission Impossible Final Reckoning is on my not so great list. Yeah, okay, so that's it for movies in 2025. What I did, what I watched, what I didn't like. There are some that I didn't watch on purpose for sure. So, well, not the one that I didn't watch on purpose was Snow White. We all know why. There was just no point. I'm trying to be intentional with my time and with with what I watch and put in my brain. But yeah, I just didn't want to have another pile of live actions that disappointed me. I'm still dealing with a lot of others that I didn't want to have to add Snow White to it. So yeah, I didn't watch that at all. But that's it for me in wrapping up my movies in 2020. That was it for movies. Let's do books. Books. Yeah, because this podcast is also about books. We review movies, and everything in between. So for 2025 books, I read 35 books in 2025. I know, not that many books. But you know what? I'm a bit proud of myself because I promise you, the 35 that I read was literally towards the end of the year. It was like less than half the year is when I read most of these books. I mean, I'm proud that I was able to read up to 35, considering that there were months that I didn't even touch a book at all. There were several months actually that I didn't even open a book. So having read 35, you know what? I give myself a bit of grace because that still makes it more than 2 books a month, if you think about it. But yeah, I read 35 books in 2025, and they were so like, I remember every single book I read. I remember every single book I read. The bad ones and the good ones. So this is all the books I read in 2025 was 35 books. They're not all 2025 releases, of course. They're just, a lot of random books, a lot of older books. There was a book I read that was from 1950 something. So yeah, I just read 35 books in 2025. But the most, I'm so excited. Oh my gosh, I should just go out and say it. Okay, background. Dan Brown is my favorite author. And he came out with his latest book in the Robert Langdon series called Secret of Secrets. It came out in September. I remember I was on a wait list for so long to get to read this book. And I read it, and it was everything I imagined. It was so good. It was so good. It was so good. It was a page turner. I remember just like flipping, and I was like, this is so good. It took me less than 12 hours to finish the book, and it's more than 60 chapters and about 1,000 plus pages. And I said to myself, oh damn, you must have had time to read this book in less than 12. It was about 10 hours it took me to read the book. But that's because I've been waiting this whole time for this book to come out. His last book in the Robert Langdon series came out in 2016 or 2017, I think. And that was Origin. So we've been waiting a long time, about 9 years, for this new one. And I mean, if you're a fan, you kind of know the agony with waiting. But I know why it took 9 years, because Dan Brown is just so meticulous. He's the sort of author that, although he's writing fiction, fiction is so real. You feel fully immersed. Like, if you know what, I'll talk about this in a different episode, because I don't want to spend the whole time on this one book. But Secret of Secrets is my top that I read in 2025. There was also Chimamanda's new book, Dream Count, also a 2025 release. That took me to, again, I don't want to spend all the time talking about these two books, but Chimamanda's Dream Count was so emotional. She writes, if you're familiar with this author and you like her style of prose and you like her style of writing, you would understand that it gets you thinking. And more than any of her books that I've ever read, and I remember her first book I ever read was Purple Hibiscus when I was in high school, and coming to now reading Dream Count, there's been so much growth, but it's still a familiar growth. Like, you still know you're reading this author. And it was just so profound, like, just being a female and reading this. It scares me when you can almost relate to characters in a book, because that's not why I'm reading. I'm not reading so I can relate. I'm reading so I can fantasize. But it was just, we'll talk about it in another episode. But Chimamanda Dream Count, if you haven't read it and you love this author, just read Dream Count. You kind of have to like them to read these people, because they're quite bulky books, but it's worth it. I promise you, it's worth it. So those are my top books from what I read last year. If anybody gives me a Frida McFadden book again, I would not accept it. Yeah, I would not accept it. I read Frida McFadden last year, and it just wasn't great. I'm not going to be doing that again. I've promised everyone that I know that I would not be reading Frida McFadden. There's other books out there I would rather be reading. And I'm trying to be more intentional in what I read. She's a very commercially successful author, but just not my vibe. At least now I know that for a fact. I'm just not going to be reading Frida McFadden going forward. Anybody that is interested in that kind of thing, absolutely. She's doing great in that genre, but just not for me. One book that I read that will stay with me for a long time is by this author called Yuketsu. So it's an international book. It's Japanese, and he's fairly new. Again, they are anonymous at the moment, so we don't even know what they are like. But the books this is very, very, very easy reads. They're like novellas, I would say, so very short reads. It's strange pictures and strange houses. It was so different from anything I read, and I think maybe it's because of the Japanese aspect to it. And I found it very interesting. I was like, oh, damn, this is such a, it was just, yeah. This is not a spoiler episode. This is just about what I read and what I did in 2025. If you're interested in sort of alternative authors, maybe international authors to be precise, this is one I would ask that if you're interested, you should read because again, it's easy to read, and if you're into whodunits, you would absolutely like. It was very, what's the word I'm looking for? It was a bit cerebral in a because typically I like whodunits, I like detective things, I like trying to solve murder mysteries and all that. It was kind of like that, but in a very introspective and psychological way, where you would have to sort of tap into your own sense of vision in a way. But I don't want to, again, don't want to spoil it. But that's one book that would stay with me, and I would tell anyone if they had time to read it. So it's Uketsu, it's two books, it's Strange Pictures and Strange Houses. They were very strange. Those are the books that really made my 2025. I mean, from Chimamanda to Dan Brown to Fourth Wing and all my romantasy books, these are the ones that really stood out for me, and I can't wait to figure out what I do in 2026. As you know, this podcast and this channel is really rooted in books and movies because I like both. I can't choose either or. For me, it's not one or the other. They both play a role in my life in how I enjoy myself. It's balance. It brings balance for me because I feel like books have a way of grounding us and slowing us down in a way movies don't. And I think we need both. We need to be able to watch a movie really quick and be like, oh yeah, this is great. And we also need to be able to take a relaxing day, read a book, and just be in our creative space and energy. So for me, it would never be, I can only read a book or I can only read a movie, I can only watch a movie. It's both. I can never choose one. Uh, Now, I want to sort of set the intention for 2026 because this channel is part of this channel is to keep me honest, is to keep me accountable. What I want to do for this year is watch a lot more international films. From collating my like doing my research last for this year for what I did last year and trying to figure out how many movies I watched, I realized that I missed out on a lot of international films. There's a whole wide market out there of really good movies. What you realize is that, so for instance, Begonia, I don't know if anyone's seen that, really good movie too. It's a remake of an original Japanese movie. Is it Japanese or South Korean? Excuse me, but it's a remake of an international film. So we are what I'm seeing now is and for instance, I wish I had seen the original. So what I don't want to do going forward is missing out on some of these gems that in international movies simply because we're just all we're seeing is Hollywood releases. I want to be able to expand beyond what I typically do and go intentionally for international movies, seek them out, see what they're doing because it's such a wide market. There's gems in there, and I want to use 2026 to start finding these gems. I really do. I really do. In terms of books, I also want to read a lot more international authors. I really want to step out of my comfort zone this year and be more intentional because it's easy to just pick up something and read regardless, but I want to know that what I'm reading is impacting me in one way or the other. So that's my intention for this year with film and movies, to just really expand my scope, but be intentional about it. I'm going to pick, international movies that are specifically, and I'm also going to pick international or underrepresented authors specifically. That's what I want to do. That's my intention for when it comes to movies and books for 2026. What I'm looking forward to for this year in terms of movies is Avengers. I can't begin to talk about how anticipated this movie is. Like, if you love superhero movies, you know about Avengers. Last one was Endgame, and I haven't watched Endgame since the first and last time I watched it because like I was so sad. I cried for 30 minutes and I haven't watched Endgame since then. So I'm looking forward to Avengers. I'm just so sad that it's all the way in December, but I'm so optimistic and I can't wait to actually watch it. The other one is Hunger Games. So there's a new one. The last one that was also a prequel, but that was about President Snow. But this next one is going to be about Haymitch, and I'm so excited to see what he was like during his Hunger Games, like how he was the victor and what happened during his time. So I really, really am looking forward to that. I'm cautiously optimistic about the new Spider-Man coming out. I love Tom Holland, but the last two haven't necessarily done it for me. And I would hate for Tobey's Spider-Man to be the best Spider-Man ever. Like, I really want this to work. So that I'm looking forward to, but cautiously. There are other movies coming out. You know, there's some other superhero movies, Supergirl and others, but these are like the tops that I'm looking forward to and I can't wait. So as I've already said before, with books, I'm trying to be more intentional with international authors and unrepresented authors. For the podcast, however, what I'm trying to do this year is get reviews from you guys. I want to hear what you want me to review. I want to know what you're reading, what you're watching, what you're looking forward to. That way we can keep this conversation going. I want to use this year to grow the community and just figure out how can we keep talking. Of course, please follow us on all social media platforms and subscribe to YouTube, where you can leave comments. Tell me what you're reading. Tell me what you're watching. For 2025, what did you watch? What did you read? What were your tops and what were your bottoms? Let's see if my tops were in your tops or vice versa. I'm really interested in seeing what the community did in 2025 with books and with movies. As you already know, there'll be weekly episodes on YouTube for the podcast, but of course the conversation will keep going on all social media platforms, where we would have polls, we'll have questions, we'll have such engaging content that will keep the conversation going. To keep the conversation going, please follow on all social media platforms. I want to know what you're reading and what you're watching in 2026. Let's talk there. Tell me what to review. Tell me what you want me to read, and I will come on another episode and talk about it. Follow us on social media on all the platforms and subscribe to the YouTube channel. Thank you for being here on the very first episode. This is just the beginning. See you next time.